Yes, I am a grown-up man, but there was a financial mistake that I made when I was younger that left me in tears. Why am I so stupid? I am so stupid. Now you might be thinking that I'm exaggerating a bit.
All right, maybe just a little.
But I'm telling you, I was a sobbing mess. It was the biggest and most costly financial mistake I'd ever made in my life. Now, luckily, I learned from that financial blunder. I didn't repeat it. It didn't happen again. And I'm sure by now you're probably wondering, what in the world did you do that you were left a sobbing mess? Now we're gonna get to that, but first I want to address why you are here, because you want to make more money.
More money, more money, more money.
So it was this financial mistake that fueled my desire on different ways that I can make more money, increase my income, generate more revenue, and the bottom line, put more money in the bank. And I'm guessing you've made a few financial mistakes too, and you want to put them in the past, you want to move on, and you also want to make more money. And that's what this video is all about, is sharing my journey, my experience on how and all the different ways that I've been able to make money. And so in this video, we're talking about quick ways that you can make money, get some fast cash. We're talking about how to start an online business or make money online. We're talking about side hustles, so many different ideas, real examples of people that are making money, including myself. And then lastly, talking about how to invest for the long term, build wealth, and start generating some passive income.
Ka-ching! We're making money, 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 money.
Now, before we get started, if you want a free resource that outlines every single making money idea that I share in this video and a whole lot more, you can download our ultimate guide on making more money. All you gotta do is enter your email address. There will be a link in the description that you can get that. Download it, save it, and open it whenever you are ready to use the ideas and start making more money. All right, so let's go ahead and get started and find out what these making money ideas are right now. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. I am your grateful host, Jeff Rose, and we're talking about making money. Dollar bill, y'all.
Dollar bill, y'all.
So this is something I am super passionate about, something that I have been, I won't say obsessed with, but definitely have been, yeah, let's just say it. I have been obsessed with the idea of how can I make more money. It all started when I was 19, around then is when it really started to happen.
You with me? So let's do this thing!
Well, let's just go ahead and dive right into it so we can learn how to make more money. And this is a complete guide that we're gonna walk through every possible situation that exists on how you can make money. For those that don't know, I wasn't always a millionaire. I wasn't always wealthy. In fact, there was a time when I was flat broke. My parents were, I want to say my parents were broke. My dad and my stepmom definitely didn't have a lot of money. My mom and my stepdad, they had some money, didn't manage it to its full extent that they could, and made some bad investments. That's a whole other story. But for me, as I mentioned during this intro, there was a time that I was broke, but also just destroyed. I was devastated. And it all had to do, like when I had one of my first jobs. I had several jobs growing up in high school, going into college. But one of the jobs I can remember the most was I got a job at the mall working at GNC, General Nutrition Center, which you can see here on the screen, selling protein powders and vitamins. You know, that's how I got swole, even though I look really skinny right now. Anyway, I remember I got my job, I was making decent money, and then the day that I got paid, I went out and I bought some clothes, actually mostly just clothes. I think I even bought some protein powder, some creatine, and I am writing checks like you wouldn't believe. And then something happened. I ended up bouncing not one, but 2 checks. That is correct.
I was also wondering if I could write you a personal check.
And it was a time like My dad was trying to help me out. He was trying to give me some advice. I didn't want to hear any advice at that time. All I knew was that I had 2 bounce checks that I had to pay for, and I had to pay, for the like the surrender charge, not the surrender charge, but like basically like the over withdrawal charge that the bank was making me pay because I wrote 2 bad checks. So it ended up being like almost $100, maybe like $150 all said, which back then was a big deal. Like it was a lot of money for me. Obviously it was a lot of money because I didn't have enough money to cover the checks that I wrote. Now I have to pay for this bounce check. Like that was not a lot of fun, but it was a time. Like I remember I was crying. Like I was so devastated over this situation, and it was one of those financial blunders that I'll never forget, and is also one that I never repeated. And that began a journey of recognizing, like, okay, I have a choice right now. I can choose to stay here, to stay broke, which I didn't want to do, or I could choose something different. And that is when the journey began to want to learn, how do I start making more so that this doesn't happen again? And it's a choice depending on where you're at in your life that you need to make. Do you want to stay here, or do you want to move on? So this is something I just got obsessed with, the idea. So there's 2 things, right? I mean, you have 2 camps. You can either save as much as you can cut your expenses, really focus on that budget, but that was something that just wasn't me. It's not something that I enjoyed, because I recognize at the end of the day, there's only so much that you can cut from your expenses. Plus, I just didn't like it. It felt very controlling, even though it's not the case. I mean, I definitely feel that budgeting is crucial, but I fell in the other camp where I want to find out how I can make more, because you can only cut so much, right? There is a cap, there is a maximum, a ceiling on how much you can cut, but there isn't a max, there isn't a ceiling on how much you can make. So that's why with this quote, finding ways to make more money make a bigger impact on your lifestyle than anything else. And not just from the idea of making more. Like, it's not just about making more, it's about everything that goes into trying to make more. The learning process through overcoming certain objections and fears, handling adversity and grit. I mean, there is so much more to it. It's just not about making money. Obviously, that is an amazing byproduct, an amazing result when that happens, but there is so much more growth in between. So why I firmly believe that if you fall in that camp where you want to cut your budget, that's great. I think that is important, because there are definitely areas in your life that you can cut. And there are areas in my life that I did cut. For me, it was like just buying stupid clothes like I didn't need, or it was eating out every single week, or just those are the things I recognized early on in my life that I needed to cut. But there's no question that if you truly want financial freedom, that you got to find a way to earn more. Like, all said and done, you look at anybody that has accomplished or achieved any sort of wealth, it's because they have learned one way or another to make more. You already know this, but let's just kind of break it down of why this is important. Making more. 1, there's no limit. We've already talked about that. There is no ceiling on how much you can make. Number 2, you don't need permission. Okay, if you're trying to get a raise from your job, yeah, you need permission from your boss. But if you're trying to create something on the side, if you're starting your own business, doing your own thing, you don't need permission from that. You may want to ask or inform your spouse, your loved one, hey, are you cool with this? You want to inform so that they're on the same page, but you don't need permission. Number 3, you can use that extra money to build wealth, investing, compounding interest, all this amazing stuff. If you have a lot of debt, first you can use that to pay off debt, then build wealth. And lastly, you get to afford to splurge and have fun. I love when I can have a goal that I want to work towards and I reward myself with Could be a vacation, could be a pair of new sneakers, some new Jordans. It could be a new Jordan sport car. I mean, could be dinner with your spouse. Finding some sort of reward system like, hey, I'm working towards this goal. I have achieved it. Bam, it's time to reward yourself. So this is where it all starts, right? The change, it starts with you. You can choose the old way that is leaving you frustrated, disgruntled, not happy, craving certain things, wanting certain things, but yet nothing is changing. So now it's about doing the new way. And it all starts with you, your belief, your mindset, as they say, which is so true. Because are you following that camp of having a fixed mindset? Are you having a growth mindset? Meaning that you recognize that there are opportunities out there, and there are plenty of opportunities, and are you going to take advantage of them? Or are you stuck in the, I am just a product of my environment and I can't do anything about it? That is not fun. Ultimately, it's all about choosing your life on your terms. And that is a big deal. Like, this is a concept that it was hard for me to understand. Like, I read all this stuff about financial freedom, and you'll hear people talking about financial independence and living life on your terms. Like, you hear all these generic expressions, but until you get there, you don't really get it. But once you're there, you're like, wow, I get it. And that's, I've been here for I don't know how many number of years, but the fact is, like, I don't have a boss. I don't have to ask permission to go on vacation. I don't have to ask permission to take my kids to school. I don't have to ask permission to work on a new project. Like, I get to choose that, and having that control is priceless. I mean, it is priceless. That only starts when you have achieved financial freedom, which once again is making more, finding out a way to make more. Let me move my head out of the way so you can see all of the different things I want to cover today. So what I am doing in this video is that we're going to break it down into four areas that will help you make more depending on where you're at and what your needs are. First, we're talking about how do we get money right now? Like, we need some fast cash. So identify some quick ways that we can make money. Then we'll talk about some side hustles, some ideas that you can start, as it says, on the side in your spare time when you're not at work, evenings, weekends, whatever that time is. Talk about some online business ideas. This is an area that I am obviously very excited about, passionate about, because this is what has really led to where I'm at right now with my achieving financial freedom and becoming a wealth hacker and all that stuff. And then talk about also building wealth for the long term. So those are the areas that we're going to cover in this video. And for your convenience, if you want to skip forward at any point in this video, check out in the description. We've got timestamps for each of the different topics so that you can jump to that area if you want to watch that, or if you want to come back and rewatch it, please do. Obviously, while you're down there, be sure to subscribe. And if you find any value out of this video, what I'm sharing here, like, share, all that good stuff with the people that you care about. So 4 different ways to make money now. So let's talk about the first stage, fast cash. And this is where, man, okay, we just need some money. Like, I really don't care what I do. I don't care. I mean, you probably want to have some care, meaning that you don't want to, do anything illegal, anything that goes against your principles or your morals, right? But this is the stage of fast cash. You need quick money. Now, one thing before I go into this, I understand when you're at this stage, and this was a stage that I was at. So I understand what this means, like what this looks like. What you don't want to do is stay here, meaning that you're here, you make money, you do it again, you do it again, you do it again. And that's great that we have something that repeats, that we can go back to and make money and make money. But eventually we have to recognize that time is money. And if we're spending time doing the same thing over and over and over again, that it's good for that moment, but long term, we got to figure out a way, something else that's going to generate money, help us make money that doesn't require us to be there 100% of the time. Otherwise referred to as passive income, which we'll talk about more later on. But that, I just want to say that it's important. We need to make money. Sometimes we got to make quick money, but don't get stuck here. All right, so what are we talking about? What are some different options here? The one thing that I will say, anytime I do these type of videos, I want to lead in with, what are my mistakes? Like, what are the things that I learn from? And the whole point of me doing this is so that you don't have to repeat what I did. Like, if you're actually listening, taking notes, following along, don't do a lot of things that I did because it ain't gonna work. And one of the things that I see with people that are trying to make quick money, to make fast cash, is you don't focus on what are the things that you already have. Like, what are your strengths? What are your experiences or your experience? What is your expertise? What is your network? Like, leveraging the things that you're already good at to make money, as opposed to doing just something to make a quick buck. And the way that I found this out, we'll say the hard way. So this is actually pre-GNC days. I was broke. I was living in California. I remember I needed money, and where did I go? What did I do? So this was, for those that are watching this, there was a time when we didn't have Craigslist. You had this thing called the newspaper. And in the newspaper, you had what was called classified ads. And in these classified ads, like Craigslist, you could find job opportunities or things for sale, that type of stuff, right? So I needed some money. So I go to the newspaper, go to classifieds. I'm scanning, I'm looking for a way to make money. And what I found was I could go donate plasma to make money. And I don't remember exactly how much. I thought it was like something like $40 that you get paid. And maybe it was like $60 like the first time. And for whatever reason, they paid you less when you went back. I don't know why that is. So I saw this, I'm like, yes, I can make $40, $60 in like 30 minutes of my time. Now, I had never donated plasma before. I don't think I ever even donated blood before then. Either way, I didn't really understand what I was getting myself into. And otherwise, I wouldn't have gone in dehydrated, not having eaten anything for that day. So I remember I went in, it was during the summer, it was hot. I don't think I'd had breakfast that day. I think the night before I had a Mountain Dew and some Funyuns. So I go into this thing dehydrated, which basically means that for them to get the minimum amount of plasma that they needed, that it took a whole lot longer. Like, I think it took me almost at least an hour, if not an hour and a half, to get this $40. So it wasn't 30 minutes, it was an hour and a half. Not to mention the fact, like, I was like nauseous. I mean, the picture here, like this guy's got a needle in his arm. Like, that is what's happening. I didn't have a phone. This was like pre-iPhone time. I didn't have like a book. So I'm sitting there for like an hour and a half, bored out of my mind, all for $40. It is not anything that I ever did again. Fast forward a few years, working at Radio Shack, for those that know. I don't know if there are still some stores that exist, but this is when I finally started to understand the concept of leveraging your strengths, leveraging your experience. And what happened was that I ended up selling this guy a computer. He bought a computer, he bought a printer, monitor, all that good stuff. This was obviously a PC. So he bought all this stuff. And at the end of me selling this, he asked me, like, hey, I don't know how to set this up. I will pay you $250 if you will come to my home and set this thing up for me. And first, like, maybe I was just naive at the time. I probably should have did a background check, because like going to this guy's house, I didn't have a cell phone at the time. Like, I'm glad I'm still alive and wasn't murdered or kidnapped or whatever. Either way, I'm thinking $250 to go plug in a computer? Like, yeah, like that's easy. Not only did I make a commission from the sale, I forgot how much I made, but it was like $100, maybe 150. And I got paid $250 to go plug in a computer and a printer. That took me maybe an hour, which was a whole lot better than donating plasma. I'm in his house, it's air conditioned. He was a nice guy. And it was easy because I knew how to do it. I already had the experience, I already had that knowledge, and it didn't take a lot of work. And that was me leveraging what I already knew to get paid. Like, that is leveraging your strengths. And that's when it all really started to make sense for me on how I could do that going forward. So that, just want to share some of those stories so that you can look at your own situation and where you're at and what you already know and what you already do and what you already have, so that you can leverage your strength and not put yourself in a situation like where you're donating plasma and you just hate life. Like that is not fun at all.
Well, it was fun.
Not anymore, though, is it? Is it?
No, not by
No, it's not fun anymore, not even a little bit.
So another area, so this is another way, just recently, that I've been able to make money quickly. It's also a way that my kids, mostly my oldest son right now, has learned how to make quick money. And that is flipping sneakers, selling shoes. And once again, this is just leveraging not just strength and experience, but also leveraging technology, with a smartphone. Here, what you see here, these are some Adidas, these are some Yeezys. They typically sell for anywhere from $100 to $200, sometimes $300 more than what you can buy them at the store. They don't really sell them on the store, they sell them through the app, the Adidas app. But if you can buy a pair, you can then flip them on either eBay or sites like StockX and make a quick buck. Actually, I just, as of yesterday, just bought a pair, got them for $220 retail plus tax. Right now, if I wanted, I could sell them for $430 right now and make net $180 to $200, just like that. And we're talking zero work at all. That is leveraging my experience, my knowledge to know, hey, if I can pick these up, I can make a profit. And there are other people that will do this. They make a full-time living selling and flipping sneakers. So that's just another way. This way, actually, I like a lot more because I didn't have to go to somebody's house. I could do this in my own house. That's easy. So what are some other ways that you can make money quickly? Here's some options, which some of these you may already know about. We have, becoming an Uber driver. In addition to that, it would also be taking surveys online. And I know that taking surveys isn't like an end all be all of making a ton of money. But once again, if you have no other options and you have no other things that you don't know what to do, that's where these come into play. So these are kind of like the donating plasma, right? Okay, you don't know how to flip sneakers, so you don't want to do it. You don't know how to plug in a computer, so you don't want to do that. Well, here are some things that you can do, but the key is that you just do something. Pick something and just start. So whether that's becoming an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, or delivering groceries through Instacart, taking surveys online, or babysitting dogs with Rover, which it's funny, I've always heard of this, but I've never really heard of anybody in my own personal network that does this. And then just because we went on a recent vacation, I talked to somebody that has these dogs, and they found a person who will watch their dogs overnight or multiple nights if needed. And initially they discovered them on Rover. And this person started off charging, I think it was like $30 a night. And now they're charging $50 a night, and they have to turn people away. Like she is that busy. But it all started with Rover. Like, awesome. You love pets, dogs? Do you want to babysit them and get paid to do it? Bam, rover.com. Check it out. So the key questions to ask yourself on trying to make some quick money, and you'll find some of these are, I won't say repetitive, but like just when you're trying to figure out different ways to make money or leverage yourself and use your skills, so a lot of these questions are going to apply. You know, what are you best at? What's something that you can do right now to make quick money? My middle son, you know, he wanted a way to make quick money. So in our neighborhood, I suggested, hey, like, go, obviously you got washing cars, right? Like that, but a lot of other kids already do that. So what's another thing that you can do? And I gave him the idea is that he can clean out trash cans, especially during the summer months when they smell in our neighborhood. I'm like, man, people will pay to clean out their trash cans that just reek of you know what. Now, is he best at that? Like, no, he's good at cleaning. Is that something he wants to do long term? Absolutely not. But, you know, he was making, I think he makes like $5 to $10 a trash can. You know, it's a pretty nasty job, but he's getting paid to do it. So what are you best at? What unique skills do you have? How much extra time do you have? And that is a really important question, because many people that want to make extra money complain about their situation, but they'll say, oh, I just don't have any extra time. In some situations that may be true. In other situations, I would say, I would challenge, how are you spending your spare time right now? Are you watching Netflix? Are you watching Disney Plus? Are you watching Amazon Prime? Are you binging out on whatever? If that's the case, you have extra time. So be brutally honest on how much time do you have. And then also ask, you know, do you need to work from home? Maybe being an Uber driver doesn't work for you because you've got kids and you won't take your kids with you on an Uber ride. I will say that I have seen families take their kids either with Instacart delivering groceries. I've also seen families with, I think it's called Postmates, where like they're delivering packages. And I've seen like their kids in the back seat as mom or dad is going to work in their own car, and they just make it a family event. So don't let your kids interfere with you potentially taking on some sort of side hustle and making some quick money. All right, so we talked about ways to make quick money, fast cash. Now let's talk about the side hustle. Making money on the side. So I feel like the side hustle is one of the greatest things that you can create, that you can start for yourself. I love obviously investing. I love investing in yourself. I think those are all important. Starting a side hustle is a way that you are investing in yourself. Like I can't say have enough praise about a side hustle. Wow, so that font did not come out the way that I would have liked, but the quote is supposed to say that a side hustle is more than just another stream of income. It's also new job security. This was, I think, was a quote from Chris Guillebeau, who wrote the book, I think, Side Hustle. And it is job security, because we go back to the pandemic, and anybody that can relate to that experience of getting laid off, of their job no longer existing, their position no longer existing, their company, their business no longer existing, which means that your income is no longer existing. So in those situations, if you got fired, you got laid off, but now you have, or let's say you had a side hustle, and obviously it's not going to replace your entire income. But if you had something that was bringing in an extra, a couple $100s a month, $500, $1,000, even if it's like 200. Well, now you don't have a job. But what if you could put a little extra time in that side hustle to where it's bringing you in a little bit more, just to help ease that transition of your old job to something new? Like, that is job security. The side hustle also allows you freedom, in that if you are stuck in a job that you don't like, if you are in a job with a boss that you don't respect or doesn't respect you, and you want to do something else, man, for those that are in a job and that's the only amount of income that they have, like, you're stuck, you're trapped. But you have that side hustle, if you have money coming in, that gives you some freedom to start to explore other options, other things that you possibly could be doing. Looking back in my own life, like, I don't think I really viewed this as a side hustle back then, but when I was in college, I joined the Army National Guard. And with that, I had to do like 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks in the summer. And with that commitment, I was making an extra couple $100s a month. Obviously, I paid for school, everything else. But there was a time early in my career as a financial advisor where I didn't make anything. I mean, I made something, but I remember 1 month in particular, my paycheck for the entire month was like $800. $800. That's it. And luckily I didn't have a car payment. I was still sharing a house with 3 other dudes, living the college life, even though I was out of college, graduated. But that extra money, that couple $100 that I got from the National Guard, my goodness, like it gave me that cushion that I needed, that I was stressed, but not nearly as much as I could have been. And that's when I really learned like the importance of having that additional revenue source. And we talked about skills and experiences. Like, everybody has a skill that they can monetize. I know, like, even with my wife, I don't think she ever thought that this was a skill that she ever could monetize, but then the opportunity presented itself. And this is early on, in our marriage, when I don't think we had our first son yet, but so she was a dancer through all her younger life into college. And then she got asked to teach a dance studio. And it was just a class, I believe, with like the entire studio. So there were these young girls and teaching them like dance routines, which she absolutely loved. Like, she enjoyed it. And she was getting paid to do it on the side. She had her full-time gig. And then she was doing this like a few nights a week and the occasional weekend, occasional dance competition. And she loved it. So she found a skill that she loved, that she got paid to do. And really, like, that's also, and I'll get to this in the next section, talking about, with my website, my blog, Good Financial Sense, like, that was a skill that I didn't recognize that I could monetize until after I started it. And then over time, I realized, ooh, this is something that I can make money on. And obviously, we talk about the benefits of a side hustle. You get to choose when you do it. Obviously, you gotta be brutally honest about that spare time. How much spare time do you have? You get to choose what you do, when you do it, and how much you're gonna make, depending on how much time that you're willing to put in and what you're willing to do as well. And it is worth noting that you're in control. I mean, that's why people they may not love all aspects of being a Uber driver, a Lyft driver, or even like Instacart, but ultimately, if you are a driver for Lyft, you get to choose when do you want to accept a ride. Like, you have that control. If you don't want to get paid, you don't have to do it. But if you want to, and if you need to, and it's whatever time of the day, you can turn the app on and see if anybody is ready and needs a ride that you can get paid to do. Like, you have that control. Like, that is a huge deal, especially with side hustle. Obviously, with any good, there are some drawbacks. Taking time away from the family is the biggest one. We only have so much time in the day, and if we are spending time, have our full-time gig, and we're doing a side hustle, and we have young kids, or we have family that we care about, that's hard. Like, that is hard. I would tell you this though, if you can bring your family in and let them know what the plan is, what you're doing, and why you're doing it, especially if you got young kids. I'm not saying they're gonna fully understand, but it's better than making them feel guilty for you having to work, which I see a lot of people do. Like, hey, and this is only for a season right now. When I saw that family delivering packages with their kids in the back, okay, like, you're taking family time away from what it used to look like, but now at least you're together. You get to share that experiences, and as they get older, they'll understand and appreciate that mommy or daddy was willing to put in that extra time to provide for them and the family. Drawback takes away time for the family. So you've got to pick and choose what's going to make the most sense. And there are times like, man, you don't need to accept that Lyft driver because your family needs you. Going back to that control. This is another one which talking about long-term. So with a lot of side hustles, if you can get to the point where you're providing more of a service-based project. So going back to the example I used of installing a computer or setting up a computer, that was easy because that person came to me. I was working at Radio Shack. They came in, I sold them a computer. It was logical, that made sense that he asked me. Now, if I wasn't working at Radio Shack and I wanted to offer that service, then how am I going to find people? That requires some work. That requires some marketing. That requires some networking. And sometimes it's not easy to find new people. You might have a stretch where you've got people lined up wanting to take advantage of your service, whatever you're offering. Then other times where you got crickets, like nobody is going out, nobody's asking, nobody's inquiring. That's why with Uber or Lyft, that's why it's great, because there's always a demand for the most part. Unless it's like 4 o'clock in the morning and you live out in the country. But there's still typically going to be somebody willing and ready to pay. So that is one drawback or one concern, with the side hustle. And if ultimately at the end of the day, like going back to what I said originally about making quick cash and exchanging time for dollars, a side hustle is something that you would like Uber or Lyft. That's great. I think that is important and a crucial first step, second step for many to make money. But then how do we go from that into something that we can scale? So that means what's something that we can put in the same amount of time, but start to earn more. With Uber or Lyft, that is impossible because it is just time for money. But so that's why we start looking and working on side hustles that can do that. But obviously that also takes time and can be a headache. It could be the grind, evenings, weekends, early mornings. That is typically when I think about my side hustle with starting the blog, that was all evenings, weekends. Also during the day as well when I was a financial planner, since I was still in control of that business as well. But anyway, something to be at least aware of. Side hustle, it's your responsibility. You know that you got to do it. It's on you. One thing I want to say, another caution is, I want to bring on too many haters when I talk about this. People that want to start a side hustle, they don't know what to do. They don't want to do Uber or Lyft. MLMs, multi-level marketing, is one of the most common things that I see people starting because of what is being promised. You don't have to spend a lot of time. You can make a full-time income, blah, 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 blah. First, let me say, I personally have experience with MLMs. I was in 2, if not 3 different MLMs. I have been pitched MLMs for, it's actually been a while, but man, there was a stretch when anybody that got into one of these and they knew me, like we were Facebook friends, they were reaching out, trying to find out if I was interested in this business opportunity. I can remember one guy in particular, somebody that I was really close friends with for a while, and he had a full-time business that he ran, that he was making really good money, but yet he was spending a lot of his extra time building this MLM business. And I guess I never asked like how much he was making. And after a few years, like he finally admitted that the most that he was making from his MLM business was like 40 grand a year. Now, for many of you, like that's a lot of money. I mean, that is a lot of money for something that was on the side. But the thing though with him, it wasn't on the side. Like he was doing these presentations like every Tuesday night, and then he was meeting people for lunch, and he was doing these conferences. And I mean, it was like more than his full-time job. Like I believe, I mean, at least that's what it looked like. And I'm like, dude, that's all you're making? Like you're making less from this than your business. Like to me, it's like spend more time, with the business. And I know like there are stats that show like how much people make. There actually was a study done back in 2018 that showed that the monthly earnings on average of MLM, I'm reading this here, looks like distributors, was estimated their monthly earnings range from a low of $1 to a high of $2,800, which is pretty dang good. But most of them were still, 83% are still distributors that aren't making anything. And the monthly average that people were making were $47. Now, I don't know if that is $47, not counting like how much of the product they're probably buying on their own just to like hold these certain levels. I know when I was in the MLM I was in, the most I ever made from one MLM, I think in a month, was like just under $200. But I'm pretty sure that I spent about $200 or more on product of that MLM was offering. So yeah, I got paid $150 or $200, whatever, but after all the product that I bought, not including the time spent in, I didn't make anything. So like just thinking about like some side hustle ideas, I think like it's important like just to kind of like brainstorm, you know, what are some things that you can do? Like I talked about like cleaning trash cans. I mean, that is something that you could do evenings and weekends, like cleaning trash cans. You think about what are some other things that you are good at? Are you good with computers? Maybe it's repair. Like you can fix things. Like that could be like home repair, like handyman stuff. It also could be like auto. Maybe you're good at fixing cars. Maybe you're good at fixing motorcycles. I mean, it could be a variety of things. Photography is another good side hustle. Maybe it's cooking. Could be cleaning. Maybe you enjoy cleaning. You want to like clean people's homes like on the side. Like this is something that you could do. When you're trying to figure out, okay, what are some things I could do? A lot of people just get stuck. Like, oh man, I don't know what it is. Take out a sheet of paper like this and just start jotting down idea after idea after idea, and things will come. Even cooler, as this slide is showing, is if you can find a side hustle that is something that you enjoy doing, like a hobby. And that is, you know, I mentioned photography. Like how many times have you encountered somebody, a mom, soccer mom, that has a nice camera, has a DSLR, and they start taking pictures of their kids. They learn how to use the camera, and now they start taking pictures of other families. My wife did this for a while. She did it more for, not for money, just because she enjoyed taking pictures, and it's just one of the things she enjoyed doing for her friends. But she had other friends that they started down that same path, and then it became a side hustle, where instead of doing it for free or charging, I mean, I think they charged like $100, $200 a start, and then it went up to charging like $500 to $1,000, and it was something that they were doing and using Facebook primarily to market what they were doing, like having a hobby as a side hustle. Like if you enjoy working on motorcycles, like that's just something that you enjoy doing, like it's a hobby, you can start doing it on your own. Enjoy it, get paid, using your hands, whole lot of fun. So how are you gonna find people? Really, honestly, if this is something that you're struggling with in this day and age of social media, it's too easy to market yourself. First, you tell family and friends. That's the easy thing. Use Facebook. Start a Facebook page. Start tagging people. Start recording videos of what you're doing, how you're doing it. If you're trying to find other gigs, you can use sites like Upwork, Freelancer. You can use LinkedIn, you know, to start market yourself and connect with other people. Using social media, we talked about Facebook. It could also be Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. All these different social media platforms allow you to connect with other people, and you can find people. But it all starts with doing it, and it all starts also then putting yourself out there. So one question I get, or some pushback I get, is of how do you stand out if you are starting a side hustle? And this is something that I learned through my own business. How do you stand out? And this is more towards those that are offering some sort of service-based business. So for example, a photographer. So you find people. So this is for, I'm talking to the person right now that has found a few people that are willing to pay for that service. They've had good experiences, and people are telling, you know, people are talking like, oh yeah, like they took really good pictures, blah, blah, blah. So how do you stand out? Well, let's say that you are taking wedding photography, wedding photos. and somebody comes to you and say, oh, what do you offer? Like, well, if you have a photography packet, like, well, I do wedding photography. And this is something that you really want to do and really separate yourself with competition, because everybody else is doing the same thing. So how do you do something different? So you could say, oh, I do wedding photos, but isn't every other wedding photographer doing the exact same thing? So how are you different? Because everybody has the camera, everybody has the Facebook page, everybody has their profile, like their portfolio online of all the different pictures that they've taken. One of the easy things that you can do is name your service. I'm not talking about naming your business, I'm talking about naming your service, the product that you offer. So I'm thinking, using the wedding photographer as an example, you could say you do wedding photos, or you could say, oh yes, I do that. I offer what is called the happily ever after wedding photography package. And there's, I'm sure, a better name for that. Kind of shooting from the hip here, right? But the key is that you're naming it, which now it becomes about the product or the service and not about you. And this was something that I learned in a coaching program that I was in, that I paid a lot of money to be a part of. When I first heard this concept, I don't think I fully accepted it. And then I went out and tested it on my own with my financial planning business, because in our business, we offer what's called a financial plan. And one way that financial advisors get new clients is that they offer a free financial plan. Like, hey, give me all your financials, give me all your statements, and I'll put together a financial plan and show you what you need to do and how you can improve on your situation. So that's how I did it, and it worked. But as competition grew, guess what? Every other financial planner in the area was doing the exact same thing. So to stand out, I created what I called my process, which was the Financial Success Blueprint. That was the name. Was it any different than I was doing before? No, it wasn't. Was it any different than what my competition was doing? The only thing that I was really doing different was two things. One, I named it. And two, because I named it, I actually charged for it. I didn't charge a lot. I was charging $600 for this financial plan. But now, instead of giving away my time for free, I was getting paid for my time, all because I gave it a name. I also learned, and I'll spend more time on another video talking about this, it was easier to get referrals because my process had a name. My service had a name. May not fully sink in what I'm talking about right now. I assure you though, that once you get to that point where you have a few paying clients, to have a good experience, if you want to stand out and get more people, naming your process, naming your service is a huge way to stand out from the competition. So that is just several examples of starting a side hustle, how you can do it, how you can find more clients, find higher paying clients, and also get new people that are willing to refer to you without doing a whole lot of work. So moving on to, this is the one, what can I say? Gosh, look at that face. That was pre-beard facial hair face. But anyway, starting an online business. Now, the thing with the online business is, I came from I started as a financial advisor, started my own, co-founded investment firm, founded my own wealth management firm, which was a brick and mortar business. We had a front door, had a mailing address, we had phones, all that stuff. The idea of an online business. So I'm just over, I'm 43 years old. So I'm still that generation where I didn't have internet until I was a senior in high school. So to hear online business, like I'm still in that camp of, is that real? Is that legit? If you have had the internet since you can remember, then you recognize like that starting an online business is a thing. But I know many of you are at different parts in your journey, but this was me. Like this was the life-changing experience that I encountered with the online business. So with this was the blog, this is goodfinancialsense.com. The time that I received this, is there a date? Yeah, 2009 is when I got this check for $152.91. It is from Google. And I remember I didn't cash this check for almost 90 days. I don't think it says there. I thought there was somewhere on the check where it basically said like, you have so much time to cash this check, otherwise it ain't good anymore. You have to get a new one. I waited almost as long as I could because I didn't want to. Like, this wasn't just a check. This check represented so much more. Now, at the time of this, I was a financial advisor. I had just left the brokerage firm that I started with. I had co-founded my first investment firm. But I was making about, let's say, $6,000 to $10,000 a month at that time. I think it was somewhere like before I left, I think I was making between 60 or 80,000 that year. I think that was the first year that I ended up making over 100 grand that first year. But either way, it was a time in my life that I was making decent money living in small town Illinois. So like, that was a lot of money. And despite that, despite making good money, I received this check for $152 and it was life-changing because this was something that I started on the side. I didn't realize at the time, it was a side hustle. It was the first time it became, I think a side hustle by definition, you have to have some income coming in. I had been writing and publishing blog posts since the summer of 2008. And this was the first sign of any income, any revenue from the site. So it was this big deal where I put all this time in and all of a sudden, bam, I got paid. And I knew that this was just the beginning. And fast forward 2009, 2021, now, my side hustle, my online business became my main hustle, became the main business. To where basically I had a brick and mortar business that was making over $400,000 a year, and I ended up selling it because it was a distraction. It was getting in the way of me making money from what I enjoyed doing more, which was what you see here. That is the online business. That's the power of starting an online business. But once again, depending on where you're at in trying to understand, trying to accept that an online business is a real deal, you have to dump all of your old ideas. Meaning that for me, it was seeing any picture of somebody in front of a Lamborghini. It was the idea that, anybody can start an online business, which is true, but that you're going to become a millionaire overnight. Like, dump that idea out, dump the Lamborghini out. Anything that you've read, any bad experience that you've heard, somebody trying to start an online business, I want you to dump and flush those ideas down the toilet and allow yourself just to hear a different perspective from somebody that has not only started an online business, is still running an online business and has generated over $10 million from his online business, not including other side projects and other things. This is all just from the blog exclusively. So just hear me out, listen, so that hopefully you can hear something new, a different perspective that will open your eyes and address and recognize, like, okay, this is potentially a real thing.
Okay.
So breaking this down, when we look at the different ways that you can make money online, like, there are tons of ways that you can make money online. There are tons of ways that I have made money online, but I wanted to try to simplify this, especially for this video, and break it down into 3 main buckets. So we got idea number 1, starting a blog or some sort of content channel. You could swap out blog with podcast. Idea number 2 is creating a product. Now, this could be a physical product that you can ship, or this could also be a digital product. Now, for me personally, I love the digital product because it's easier. You don't have to have storage other than maybe like Amazon online storage to hold this stuff. So we'll talk about some products there that you can do. And then the last one is coaching and consulting. So those are like the three buckets. And as I go through this, I'm already recognizing like I could spend an entire video tutorial on just this part, and I probably will. So make sure that, once again, that you are subscribed to the channel because we'll have more coming up on this. Number one, starting a blog or starting a content channel. We'll start with the blog first because that is my bread and butter. You know, started the blog at goodfinancialsense.com, and one of the reasons why I love starting a blog is it is so dang cheap. And you know, starting a blog, you need a domain name. So for me, goodfinancialsense.com, went to GoDaddy, and I believe at the time that cost me about $12 is all that cost. So 12 bucks. Then you need to host that website. So that's where you're looking at a Bluehost or HostGator, or two of the more popular ones for people that are just starting. And with that, you're looking at maybe $60 to $80 a year to host. And once you have the domain, once you have the host, guess what? You now have a website. And in turn, you have a business. So you think about how many businesses can you start right now that's going to cost roughly $70 to $80 for the first year. Like there aren't a lot. There aren't many. And once again, you could throw in an online store like through Shopify. You could do the podcast. Now with podcast, that may require a little bit more if you need like a good microphone. With YouTube, if you've got your iPhone, I mean, and you can use any sort of free editing service like what's on the MacBook. GarageBand for a podcast, iMovie, for the MacBook. So like there's tools out there. And plus now there's tons of apps that you could do all this on your phone. So it's just crazy how easy it is that you can start this. Now, the other benefit I love about this is that we talked about this previously, with starting an online business or starting a side hustle, is that you can determine like when you work on this. So if you are, let's say you start a blog and you published 15, 20 different articles and great pieces of content that are helping people, then all of a sudden something happens where you just can't devote a lot of time to it. Well, then you can just put it on hold. It doesn't go anywhere. It's not like a brick and mortar business where you have to pay rent, pay for heating and air, pay for insurance. Like you're just paying that hosting fee, which is good for an entire year. That's just one of the reasons I love about it. With my wife, so she started a blog called houseofroseblog.com. It's still there. And in its heyday, I mean, she was making several $1,000s a month from her site. Like, how awesome. Now, the cool thing or crazy thing is that she hasn't published a new post on that website since I think a year after we moved here to Nashville, and we've been here for almost 4 years. Now, it is not still making $4,000 a month like it was, but it still makes a couple $100s a month, and she does nothing with it. I don't even know the last time that she even logged in to that site, and yet it still sends us a check for a couple $100 a month. Like that's pretty awesome. I know it's only a couple $100s, but still, just the idea that you put all this work in, you've created something, you don't have to maintain, like we're not even maintaining it, and it's still making money. Like that is super awesome. I love all stories like that. So now looking at another example, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, okay, yeah, you've got a financial blog. Your wife has a mom blog, lifestyle blog. Like, I don't know what I can do. I wanted to just highlight one example. So this is a blog called pinchofyum.com. I know the couple that run this site. They've been going, I think they started this blog a couple years after I launched mine. They used to share their income reports on this site, like how much they were making each month. And it's been a couple years, but at one time, I mean, they were making 30, 40, maybe $50,000 a month. And they also had another site that they launched that was helping food bloggers, monetize their site. So they created like a secondary business to go along with this. But I wanted to show this as an example because this is about food and cooking and recipes. So if you're into this kind of thing, which I'm totally into eating, not so much following recipes, but you could start this. Start a food blog. You could start a fitness blog. You could start a mechanic blog. You could start a photography blog. You could start a blog on sports cards or any sort of hobby. I mean, chances are you pick a random topic, and there's a blog out there that exists, and not only exists, but is making money. Like, that is awesome. So another example I wanted to bring up is lifeinsurancebyjeff.com. So I started goodfinancialsense.com. That was my main site, and it had been around for about, I think, 5 years, if I'm dating myself correctly. And then I launched a secondary site, which was called lifeinsurancebyjeff.com, and it was primarily life insurance focused. So this is what we would call a niche site or a niche blog, and it was purely 100% all about life insurance. And with this site, I also created a podcast and also a YouTube channel, which is still out there, I believe, if you want to look for it. The podcast, I think that no longer exists. I think I just got tired of paying the monthly fee for it. Plus, Life Insurance by Jeff is now redirected back into goodfinancialsense.com. So I think if you go to that domain, lifeinsurancebyjeff.com, it's going to direct you to one of our core life insurance pages. The reason I wanted to bring this up was because I already knew what I was doing with Good Financial Sense. When I launched this thing, within 9 months, this site was making over $100,000 a year within 9 months. Now, the big difference between this site and my other site was I knew what I was doing here. Like the other site, I was clueless. I didn't know anything about SEO, didn't know anything about blogging or backlinks or anything. So I was figuring it out on the fly. With this, I knew what I was doing. I had a plan. I implemented that plan. I delegated a lot of the tasks I didn't want to do. I did the podcast. I did the recording of the videos just to have that. And in case you're curious, the reason I did those two things was I wanted to show Google and also potential people that were interested, potential clients or customers that were interested in life insurance, that this wasn't just some anonymous life insurance site that was on the web. I wanted there to be a personality, a real person behind it, me, and just give Google and other people a lot of trust factors in, okay, this guy is legit. So it took a lot of work, but once I got to that point, there was very minimal upkeep. So a lot of that initial surge was just publishing a lot of content, the pages, all the content. That's where all the work went into, and then strategically getting backlinks and all that stuff. And it did very well, continued to do very well until it got to the point where it made more sense to just fold that all into the main site, which is my blog, Good Financial Sense. So that is just another example of, oh, a life insurance blog? Like, that sounds fun. No, not a lot of fun, but it was a business and it made a lot of money. So here is another example, which now I'm going into idea number 2. So now we're talking a little bit about digital products as well as physical products. So this is another good friend of mine named Steve Chu. It's him and his wife, Jen, and their 2 kids. And I got to know Steve quite well over the years. And he has his blog, mywifequitherjob.com. Love that domain. And you can go check it out. And I think in his situation, they were getting ready to have their first kid, and his wife was quitting her job. Steve had a job, but he felt like he needed to create something on the side that would replace his wife's $100,000 a year income. And he didn't give himself a lot of time to get that done. Overachiever. So he ended up launching an online store, which is this, Bumblebee Linens, which still exists. And this is actually a physical product. So they had these wedding handkerchiefs, which I really don't understand, if I'm being honest. Like, I've looked at these. Steve has been gracious enough to send me some of the samples to see like some of his products. It's not my thing. It's not my wife's thing. More power to you if this is your thing and you like this. People love this stuff. I don't get it, but they do. They love it. And I don't remember how long it took, but it didn't take as long as you may think. And he was able to replace his wife's $100,000 a year income. I think it was within a year, maybe 2. I actually think it was less than that. And I think you'll learn more about that story. If you're interested to truly know what that time frame was, you can go to his site and he shares all about it. So that is a physical product that he created where he was able to make that 6 figures. In addition to that, if this is something that you're interested in, Steve offers his free course on how to start an online store. And with that, he also has a course, a digital product that he sells that shows people how to replicate his success, essentially. And that is one of the prime ways a lot of people make money online is you do something, you have success with it, you gain some notoriety, then people start learning about you. They want to replicate what you've done, and they're willing to pay. There's also the other people that don't actually have any success online. They claim that they do, and they try to get you to buy their course. Like, that's another example. Be careful of those. But with Steve, he's legit. He's been doing this for a number of years. He's spoken at plenty of conferences. He even started his own conference. I don't know if that's still going on because of the pandemic, but I know that the first year they had it, I believe it sold out. I mean, for anybody, it was for e-commerce. Anybody want to start an online store or sell anything online. But anyway, so Steve encompasses both physical and digital products and is still doing both and still doing amazingly well with both of those as well. So there you go. MyWifeQuitHerJob.com, Bumblebee Linens, and I skipped mine. Oh, that's silly. So there's a slide I was supposed to add where I have my own digital product. It's called Make1KChallenge.com. It's a free email course that people sign up for. And when you sign up for this free email challenge, there is a $7 upsell, lead magnet. I think there's another name you can call it. But basically, it's just like it is a starter package, a starter product. And the whole intent is just to get people to open up their wallets and purchase. And with that Make 1K challenge, that $7 upgrade, they get some PDFs that I created, a video that I created. I think there's maybe 5 or 6 different PDFs just to help people. And the whole point of the challenge and also the upsell is helping people start their first website and give them the steps to make that first $1,000. That's the whole point. So this whole product that I created back in, I don't know when, it's been 5 or 6 years. Since its first launch, I've only updated it once. So went in, redesigned just the PDFs and made them prettier, added a few PDFs on there. But for the most part, there hasn't been a lot of upkeep. And this thing still continues to make several hundred, sometimes a couple $1,000s a month. And there is no Facebook ads, there are no Google ads, there are no YouTube ads at this time of this recording. This is all being marketed or offered either on the site, also offered on the YouTube channel. You can go to Make1KChallenge.com, sign up for the email challenge, and once you sign up, you'll see this $7 upgrade that's offered. And so you can see it. And it's so cool to see each transaction come through. Now, I don't get an email notification for every $7 sale, but I have it set up where I do get emails. It gets funneled into a certain folder, but it's so cool. Some days it's $50, some days it's a couple $100, and it's just fun to see. And one of the things for me, of all the things I've created, it's so cool to see something that, you think about planting a tree or a bush, and you planted it and it's there and it's growing. And occasionally you go check on it, say it's okay, but you don't have to go give it fertilizer, you don't have to give it water. It just continues to do what it's supposed to do. Except in this situation, this tree or bush is producing money, cash. That's one of the things I love about a digital product. If you have the ability to have returning eyeballs, returning customers come. Now, other people that don't have that, they would pay for the ads and do some sort of ad arbitrage where you're paying $3 a lead, but you're making $7 a lead. So there's that profit. And that's something that I could do and still could do, but right now, I chose the easy way. Sit back, enjoy the money coming in, and work on the next thing. The other one example I wanted to show you. So we idea number 3 was coaching or consulting. And if you've never hired a coach, if you've never paid for consulting, this may be a harder concept to understand. I know it was for me before I ever hired my first business coach. But when I finally did, then I started to understand when you want something, when you desire something and somebody else has already achieved that, either you're going to go out there and do it yourself, do it the hard way. And if you have the financial means to do so, then you understand paying somebody for their time, their expertise to help you, to assist you so that you don't waste your time and make a ton of mistakes like other people do. That's the whole point of coaching or consulting. If you understand that, like, so anybody that has done that and has had success with that, you understand how amazing that is. So and that's something that it was hard for me to understand. Even like, it was hard for me to understand that when people were willing to pay me for my expertise in launching an online business or using online marketing to market my financial planning services, like people were willing to pay several $100s an hour just to talk to me. I'm like, that's just weird. Like, it just was until it wasn't. So as I've been talking, there's this guy on my screen that's holding a trophy. It looks like he's in front of some sort of race car. So this is name is Luke Bagaki, and he is a race car driver. I am totally drawing a blank what kind of race cars he races. I could go do some research and find out really quick. I'm sorry, Luke, if you're watching this. I just know that he goes really fast. So the cool thing about Luke is that this has been him in his, I guess since he was a kid, just racing. And not only did he enjoy it as a hobby, but he also was good at it. And he is well known in whatever type of racing this is. So he's pretty popular in his space. But he also recognized that with racing, especially I think in this one in particular, at some point, your body is not going to allow you to compete. And if you think about any athlete, once you hit mid-30s, that's when you're on the decline. So he recognized like he's not gonna be able to do this his entire life. So he started asking himself the question, like, what do I need to do now to start generating some additional income? And I can't remember where he got the idea. It may have been another friend of mine, Shane Sams, who you can check out at fliplifestyle.com. But he ended up launching a membership site for those that were interested in racing. And that's it. And these people got like behind the scenes, I don't know, like footage or just like what goes on, like setting up for races. He would do like live calls, answer questions, just to put together certain resources. And I can't remember exactly how much he was charging, but I think it was like $50 a month, somewhere in that range. And he didn't even know what he was doing. He just put it out there. And I'm sorry, I don't have all these numbers now at the top of my head, but when I first met him, he was already making at least $5,000 a month just from people that were willing to pay a monthly fee to be a part of Luke's world. And this is more of that influencer realm, where people, I just want to I want to learn from you and be more in your world, in your space. And I know since then he has added more options, more products. Like I went to his site actually for this presentation, and he has all these different courses that he also offers. And I think with a membership, if you pay, I think you get access to all those. I'm not really sure how the business model works now. Either way, he's doing amazingly well. And he opens up his his membership like once a year, I believe, or maybe, I don't know exactly, but I recall it was like once a year or twice a year that he would open it up. And once he did, he would add like several hundred people every single time. Where it's like, dude, you just added an extra $100,000 a year of recurring revenue from everybody that you added. And in case you think, all right, this guy's a scammer or he's taking advantage of people, his retention on these people was super high. Once again, I don't have exact figures here, but he didn't have a lot of churn. So people that were signing up to pay this $50 a month membership were staying, and were staying for a long period of time. And that membership cost went from 50, I'm not sure what it is now, but I know that it went up like to 60 and then 70, 80. It may be over 100 now, I don't know. Either way, he has figured out a way to use his experience, his expertise for coaching, consulting, also I guess like a digital product as well, and is making a living, a great living from it. He's still racing because he still enjoys it. He can still take part, have fun. Not to mention, like if you do win a race, like there's a lot of money. So he's getting. It's just a great. I just love seeing it because it's just bracket racing. That's what it is. It's a website. This is bracketracing.com. So it's bracket racing. Finally figured that out. So he's taking advantage of the window that he has, to bring in these winnings from bracket racing and generating additional income from his online presence, his website, just from all his experience. So cool, such a great story. So when you look at an online business, I'm gonna take myself out here so that you can see the screen fully here. But you gotta have the right mindset, and most likely you are thinking one of these things. You're not an expert. You don't have anything to sell. You don't have time to build an online business. Nobody wants to read your words or listen to your words or hear your words or watch your words if you're doing like a YouTube channel. Not making any money, no one believes in me. That is so true. And I'm not gonna go through all these, but the main one I wanted to mention right here is everyone is an expert at something. Remember the guy who runs a successful website about ink pens or racing? And the truth be told is I remind people this is that you are an expert, because think about this, right? You go to a restaurant, you have a good dinner, have a good experience, and then a friend or a family member who hasn't gone to that restaurant yet ask you, hey, how was that? What did you think? In that situation, you are an expert. And the reason that you are an expert is because you've done something that they haven't done, and they want to get that experience. They want to get that information from you. And the only thing different between you and them is that you are one step ahead. You can be an expert, and you don't have to be Luke in a sense where you're 15 steps ahead and you haven't even ran your first race. You just got to be one step ahead of somebody. Like that is how you are an expert. And if you really looked at everything that you've done to this point in your life, the reality is that you're not just one step ahead of a lot of people, you're several steps ahead. Or if you truly believe that you're not a step ahead of somebody else, then you can go out and you can learn and start figuring it out on your own. So take the blog example, go out and register that domain, get that host, publish your first post, have it out there, start that YouTube channel, get those 1,000 subscribers, and somebody else that wants to do just that hasn't even launched that channel yet, they're looking to you at the expert because you can give them advice that is going to save them a ton of time and a lot of headache and a lot of frustration. And that is all it really takes to become an expert. Now we're talking about money for the long term. We're talking about essentially building wealth, a little bit investing. I mean, there are a few, different options that you can do. So let's talk about them. Making money for the long term. I can't bring this up without telling this little story of this young man was going to be my success story. He was at the time 18 years old. He was getting ready to graduate high school. I went to guest speak at a local high school talking about investing and how important that is. And he was one of the few kids, maybe been the only one, that actually listened. And he came up to me afterwards and said, hey, I want to do this. And when I was talking about compounding interest. I was talking about a Roth IRA and all these different things. The essentials for somebody that is just starting their career, has some money to invest, and helping them understand and realize what a big deal it is to start investing a small amount of money. So that's what I talked about. So he came up afterwards and he's like, hey, I want your cards. I want to come to meet with you. And I'm like, I gave him a card. Didn't think I'd ever hear from him. I did. Within a week, he set up an appointment, came in, and we started investing for him. So he set up a Roth IRA. And if I recall, he started investing about I think it was $50 a month. And he did that for a good period of time. He then increased it to $100. Then that went up. I can't remember exactly the most he went up to. I think it was $150, maybe $200 a month is what he started. And this was all in a Roth IRA. And he was doing amazing. And then something happened, got a girlfriend, moved out of state, and then he called me and wanted to cash it out. And I can't remember if he cashed it all out, but I remember he did cash out a good amount. He may have left some in there. And it was one of those situations where like I was so upset, and not because of somebody calling me to cash out their account, because the grand scheme of things, like whatever he had, even if it was like 5,000, 10,000, like I wasn't making a lot of money off of this. It's because anytime I have somebody that's young that has something saved in their 401k or Roth IRA and they cash it out, I don't see them cashing out $5,000. I see them cashing out what will eventually become several $100,000. So it's like, oh my gosh, you're not making a $3,000 mistake, you're making a $400,000 mistake. So when this happened, I ended up doing this blog post about it, and I think since then I've done a few videos about it. So I just calculated, like, okay, if you were 18 years old and you were saving $50 a month to start, and you increase that by $50 per month every year until you turn 30, then at the age of 30, you would have $73,000. $73,181 to be exact. Oh, and this is assuming a 7% rate of return. Now, at the age of 30, if you then just added $50 a month, that is the worst underline there. I didn't mean to cross that out, meant to be an underline. So if you're just adding $50 a month on top of that, then how much would you have? And that is where we come up with the $647,000. So this young man didn't make a $3,000 mistake, a $7,000 mistake, a $200,000 mistake. He made potentially a $647,366 mistake. That hurts. That hurts. And when we are investing for the long term, like that's what it's all about. It takes time. It takes time. And what people really don't realize especially with compounding interest, is that a majority of this happens not like in the first 10 years, it happens in the last 10 years. So I'm thinking like if somebody has like a 30-year timeline, sorry, I can't read that. Probably gonna read anyway because my penmanship is so bad. The bulk of compounding interest doesn't happen in the beginning, it happens in the end. If you understand the amortization of a mortgage, where in the beginning all the payment that you are making is going towards interest, not the principal, it's like the complete opposite. So all of the interest that you're making, and if you think about that, is if you make 20% return and you have $1,000, that's a good return, but you didn't have a lot invested. But if you've got $200,000 or $400,000 and you make 20%, well, now you just made somebody's income, maybe twice their income or 3 times their income in 1 year. And that is when compounding interest starts to take off in a good way. And what this all boils down to is passive income. I mean, we're investing for the future, we're seeing our interest and we're seeing our dividends being paid and then also reinvested and growing. And all this is all going down. Like, we're not having to do any work there. We're just sitting back and learning. So with passive income, we have a little bit on the investing side, which we talked about. So I'm going to talk about a lot of different options, but just kind of break it down, some of the main ones. But you have like some of the traditional ones with index funds and a robo-advisor and Fundrise, which is basically real estate. But then we have like the digital stuff where you've got the sell your own products like Steve Chu that we talked about, writing an ebook, starting a blog, affiliate marketing. And then we've got more back to the traditional of setting up a traditional or Roth IRA or doing high dividend stocks. Like there's so many different options, and I'm not going to spend the rest of the next couple hours talking about all these. If you want to learn more about passive income and some ideas out there, if you want need some passive income idea creation ideas, head on over to the blog. We've got a resource that offers 28 different passive income ideas that you can start today to build real wealth. Have a link in the description to check that out. You can type in, go to the site, Good Financial Sense, type passive income. You'll find it, it's there. The ones I want to talk about today are, I think there's just 4 of them, but we got real estate investing. So real estate's one we'll talk about, and then, which is REITs, Fundrise, we talk about digital products and dividend stocks, which now I'm remembering why the Make 1K challenge was not in the digital product, because I saved it for this part. My bad. So you'll know when that happens. So with real estate, full disclaimer here, I'm not the real estate guy. I attempted a few different physical properties, a rental property, a HUD property that we were going to flip was the idea. Those didn't quite work out. That being said, I have been able to make money through real estate, but not in the traditional sense that most people would assume. So the way that I have made money with real estate is real estate notes, almost like being a hard lender. There's also private REITs. And those that don't know, REIT stands for Real Estate Investment Trust. So the idea here is that you're putting your money in, you're pooling your money with other investors, other real estate investors, and then you're giving that to some sort of investment manager, and you are trusting that they know what they're doing with that money, whether that's buying commercial property or townhouses or condos or apartments or strip malls or whatever it is that their specialty is. So you're giving them money, you're pulling it together with other people, they go out and do their thing, and whether they're collecting rent or selling or appreciation, a profit, then they're gonna pay you some sort of, usually it's a dividend, a yield that comes, and then there could be capital gains at the end of the year. So that is one way that you can make money with real estate. And those are the big ways I've made money with real estate. The other way, which you can do if you're watching this right now, is going through essentially, which is a online real estate investment trust. And this is Fundrise. And Fundrise is one of a half a dozen different online investment platforms that exist. Very similar to what I just explained, except the difference is with Fundrise is you don't need, like one of the private REIT deals that I did, that had a minimum investment, I believe it was like $50K. So $50,000 is what you needed just to get started. And you compare that to Fundrise, which, they have a starter portfolio for $500, but typically, I think what you see on the site is $1,000, but I think there is a way that you get one of their most more basic real estate portfolios, which is still diversified. You can get that for $500, and then for a step up, $1,000. And they have some other ones where if you have more money to invest, you get access to different ones. Just not too long ago, I published a blog post, podcast, and a video that talked about my Fundrise experience. So right now, I've been a Fundrise customer it's over 3 years. So check out that video. Once again, I'll have a link to that in the description as well, that I share like, hey, here's how much to the penny and to the decimal point of how much return I have made through Fundrise. And it's such a great platform for anybody that wants to do real estate, but you don't have the connections, you don't have the capital, and you want to make money through real estate, you want to be diversified. And it's just one of those things. I just love technology, and it just shows like how many doors are open now because of that. So check out Fundrise. Here is the Make 1K challenge I mentioned earlier. Now I realize why I put it towards the passive income side, and I won't spend more time on it. But if you want to check out make1kchallenge.com, that is where I have this free email challenge that you can sign up. This is the $7 digital product, that you put your email address in. You don't have to pay $7 then. It's like whenever you put your email address in right here, a pop-up is going to come up and ask you, hey, are you interested in this blogger starter package? You don't have to buy it. You're still going to get the free emails. Some people I guess they don't realize that. You don't have to pay for the emails. The emails are still coming. So did all that. The work's there. Shows you how to do everything step by step. The $7 upgrade just gives you some more tools and resources that will help you expedite the email challenge as well. Make1kchallenge.com. Check it out. And then we have dividends. Just another, I won't say easy way, but it is an easy way once you find the right stocks. Now with dividends, like I didn't own a lot of dividend stocks. I was more into growth stocks, so I'm buying like the Teslas and the Facebooks, thinking what's some of the ones I've owned. Under Armour back in the day when Under Armour was a good brand, a good company. So that's where I put a lot of my money in. Coinbase here recently. With dividends, you buy a dividend stock, and just like a bond or a CD or a money market account, you're getting paid those dividends. Now there's a chance that those dividends, that company could stop paying dividends. It's always a chance. And not only is that a chance, but you also have that chance where the price of the stock could go up and down. So you buy a stock for 20 bucks, it's paying you a 4% dividend, and then a year later that stock is now 50% lower. Maybe it's still paying that dividend, but yet some of your principal has been hit, and it's gonna take you some time to recoup that. So these are all possibilities. But man, if you're looking for a safer way, and I say safer with air quotes because buying a stock, an individual stock, there's always gonna be risk involved with that. But if you're buying what's considered to be a blue chip stock, a company that's been around for a number of years, that is typically more safe than going out and buying some sort of high risk tech stock. And if you're looking for dividend stocks, like you don't know where to go, there are two different ones that you can look up. So there is the Dividend Kings, and then there's also the Dividend Aristocrats. And both of these, basically, to make these lists, these companies have had to have a minimum number of years that they have not only paid a dividend, but they've also increased that dividend. And without it in front of me, I think like Aristocrats is like maybe 20 years. With Dividend Kings, I think it's even longer. They also have to be like a large corporation, so they're typically in the S&P 500. And there's some other qualifications you can look up on your own to see. But this is just another way that you can invest for the long term, also generate passive income, and help you make more money. Because how awesome is it that if you're investing into these stocks, these dividend stocks, and they're reinvesting, they're buying more stocks, and now your dividends are going up and up and up. And then it gets to the point where you have retired, and this is just another income stream that you can, instead of reinvesting, then you can have them sent it directly to your bank account. So this is what you can live off of on top of everything else that you have. This is why I love dividend stocks for this purpose. But the key to this, and really everything that we have talked to, whether you're trying to earn passive income, trying to increase, start a side hustle, start an online business, you've got to take action, period. I don't care what it is, you've got to do something. Do something. Chances are, whatever you do ain't gonna work out the first time. So yeah, you got to stick with it, meaning that you try it, it doesn't work, try it again, if it doesn't work, try it again. Eventually, maybe you have the wrong idea. So then pivot, find something new, and then repeat. Number one, take action, take action, take action. Eventually, over time, you're gonna find something that works. It's the people, a lot of people don't even get to this one. They don't even take action. Or those that take action and it doesn't quite work out the way that they want. Then they give up, they don't stick with it. I didn't spend a lot of time talking about all the different ideas that didn't quite work out for me, all the ones that failed. I promise you, there's a ton. There's a ton of them. And if I would have quit on the first real estate transaction that didn't quite work out, if I would have quit because I did multi-level marketing and it was the biggest joke and a big waste of my time and I didn't make any money, then I wouldn't have launched the blog. I wouldn't have started the YouTube channel. I wouldn't have started the podcast. Wouldn't have wrote the book. And I wouldn't be doing this presentation to you right now, and I wouldn't be where I'm at. So I had to stick with it. But before that, I had to take action. All right, y'all, if you haven't had a chance yet, be sure to go to download the PDF version of this guide so that you have a quick resource to go through everything that I've listed. And on this PDF, we have links available. So if there is a resource that you want to find out more information on, you can click on the PDF. So go check that out. Once again, a link to that is also in the description, so you can go check that out. And as always, if you found this resource amazing, not amazing, but helpful, was this presentation information helpful? If so, please like, please share, please subscribe if you haven't done already. All right, y'all. Until the next time, this is Jeff Rose reminding you that it's your money, it's your life, and only you can make it awesome. Until then, peace.